Now, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah says his fighters are ready for a wider war against Israel. The Israeli army and Lebanon-based Hezbollah have been fighting on the border since the war in Gaza began in October. And in recent days, both sides have stepped up their hostilities and rhetoric. In a televised speech on Wednesday, Nasrallah said his group had increased the number of its fighters and would fight a war without rules for the first time. He also threatened Cyprus, an EU nation, that they too could be a target.
If
war is imposed on Lebanon, the resistance will fight without restraint, without rules and without limits. The Cypriot government should be aware that the opening of its airports and bases for Israeli military use would mean the Cypriot government becomes part of the war, and the resistance will deal with this part of the war.
Now, Iran's acting Foreign Minister Ali Bagheri has held talks with Hamas's political leader here in Doha. Bagheri said that efforts against the war on Gaza should be accompanied by legal, political and diplomatic resistance abroad. He also told Hamas's Ismail Haniya that Iran supports any move that guarantees the demands of Palestinians when it comes to ceasefire talks. Gershon Baskins, the Middle East director at the NGO, the International Communities Organization. He's also a former hostage negotiator and joins us now from West Jerusalem. Good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. Can we just begin with the rhetoric that's coming out from southern Lebanon and Hezbollah, and again, the rhetoric that would be from Israel about they'll hit Hezbollah wherever they are? This sort of talk of a much wider conflict worries many beyond the borders of the Middle East.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous picture right now, with both sides being quite bold in their remarks, a great deal of hubris here of each side threatening to hit the other, going way beyond what they've done in the past 8.5 months. It's extraordinarily dangerous for the people of Israel and the people of Lebanon if this war escalates anymore. We all know that the fighting in the north of Israel, the south of Lebanon, will end on the day that the battle in Gaza ends. And this is why we need to put a lot of pressure on all sides here to end the war in Gaza immediately, as soon as possible.
What do you make of the sabre rattling about the threat to Cyprus should bases or facilities be offered to Israel there? There is actually a UK Air Force base there, isn't there, at Akrotiri? So in theory, that could also be a target.
Oh, for sure. I think that everyone should take Hezbollah seriously in their threats. Israel should take them seriously. Cyprus should take them seriously. We should all. We don't want this war to escalate more than it has already. It needs to come to an end. There is no real conflict between the state of Israel and Lebanon. The conflict is all around the core issue of Israel and Palestine, and this is why international attention needs to be focused on finding the diplomatic, political end to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and first and foremost, the war in Gaza.
And indeed, that isn't going to come to an end in the near future by all accounts, certainly from Tel Aviv, and we'll talk about that in a moment. What do you make of the sort of coincidental meeting, dare I say it, coincidental, between Hamas and the Deputy Foreign Minister from Iran? Its timing is quite unique.
Well, it is clearly the axis of support of what they call the axis of resistance of Iran and the Houthis in Yemen, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and Hezbollah, all working together against Israel and the other moderate Sunni Arab states in the region. We clearly have a divide here between those forces and the others. And this is the strategic look that we need to understand the region. Iran is marching forward rapidly toward a nuclear weapon as they have increased their centrifuges and the enrichment of a bomb-grade uranium. This is a danger to the entire planet, and we need to focus attention on that as well. This is really, really major developments that concern the entire region and the entire world, in fact.
And indeed, let's look at domestic matters in Israel, because what happens on the ground in Tel Aviv in terms of the politique affects us on a global level as well. I mean, the war cabinet has actually been dissolved and something else is going to be in its place, apparently, with the inclusion of the National Security Minister, Ben Gvir. How should we read into that?
I'm not sure that Ben Gvir will be allowed inside the room that's making decisions on the war, but what we're seeing for the first time since this government was elected is the kind of conflicts within the government that could actually bring it down. And it won't be brought down on the issue of the war in Gaza or anything substantive. It'll be more likely brought down on internal Israeli legislative attempts by the government to create a jobs law for rabbis connected to the Shas party, or on the major issue of the draft law, in which the ultra-Orthodox community of Israel has been not drafted into the Israeli army, and there is a need for more soldiers in the army. And the people of Israel, the majority, want there to be equal service for everyone, not for anyone to be left out of their responsibility and their duties to the country. And this is a law that could actually bring down the government.
Well, we'll have to see what happens for the moment. Gershon Baskin, it's so good to speak to you. Thanks for joining us from West Jerusalem, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.